Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Holding down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on a Thursday, working towards the weekend. Pretty one out there in BR today. Hope you're having a good one. Casey Gaines and Taylor Sharp back there on the ones and twos. Locked and loaded the next 2 hours. 9 Tigers headed to the NFL Combine. Talk about that a little bit later. Joe Healy is going to join us. He's with D1 Baseball. You know Kendall Rogers. You know Aaron Fitt. Those are the guys who have kind of teamed up to form the powerhouse that is D1 Baseball. But they've added an SEC Extra segment to D1 Baseball, and Joe Healy is going to spend a lot of time with that. So we put a Citizens Bank poll question out a couple of weeks ago saying, hey, you want to talk a little SEC baseball even though we're not playing conference games yet? Do you care if Ole Miss plays ULM? Do you care what Florida does in their 3-game set against Central Florida and Stetson? And like 80% said, yeah, let's start talking about it. So Joe Healy's going to come on. We'll certainly talk a little about LSU at 1:30, but I want to talk about some of the other teams in the league as well. And one, the Arkansas Razorbacks just got dealt a brutal blow as Jackson Wiggins, presumably their number one starting pitcher, certainly a guy with a huge fastball and very projectable draft grades, torn UCL, Tommy John surgery. That was announced 20 minutes ago. So I'll ask Joe coming up at 1:30, what does that mean for the Arkansas Razorbacks as they may have just lost their ace for the season? Some SEC Hoops reaction coming up at the end of this hour. I want to start talking about the Super Bowl. By the way, that's in 3 days, so might as well start giving it a look. We haven't talked about it at all here. David Grubb's going to come on at 2:15. That'll be 15 minutes after the NBA trade deadline has come and gone, so we'll get his thoughts. He covers the Pels for the Hard in the Paint podcast, so lots to get to over the next 2 hours. We are excited to do it. We are going to start with LSU basketball. We know at this point what this team is. They're on an 11-game losing streak. They are limited in terms of the talent. You know the whole drill. But I go into every game that I watch, and again, I've said multiple times, there are a lot of you that have tuned this thing out and aren't even watching anymore, and I could not blame you one bit for that. I'm not wired that way. They put on purple and gold. They're on TV. I'm going to put it on my TV. I'm probably going to go on Saturday, quite frankly. That's the way I'm wired. So we're going to talk about it a little bit. But I do go into every game with the understanding of what LSU is. I blocked out 1 hour to watch on Saturday because I thought Bama would beat them by 30 again. And they hung around, and I watched the whole thing. And last night, I thought LSU could be respectable in the game. And for the first half, they were. But at the end, they weren't because of their struggles. But last night, even with my understanding of what LSU's basketball team is at this point, I got upset. Because they can play well based on who they are. They can't look like Calipari's undefeated team that lost in the Final Four. They're not going to look like a tournament team. But they can play well relative to your expectation. And they can play poorly. And yesterday, they played very poorly. And that is frustrating. Even relative to your baseline for this team, they played poorly. That 2-minute start to the game, I'm not using hyperbole. I'm really not. That 2-minute start to the game was as bad an offensive start as I can ever remember watching. Here were LSU's first 2 minutes of possessions. Tyrell Ward got a steal and stepped out of bounds. Whoops. Then you got the ball back, and Justice Williams picked his dribble up, had nowhere to go, and threw a 3-hop bounce pass to basically no one towards the Mississippi State basket, which they picked up and dunked. Then you get the ball and come back down after they dunked on you, and Justice Williams has it taken away off the bounce, just stolen. Then State goes down and hits a 3 to make it 7-0. So Matt McMahon calls timeout. We're not done. They come out of the timeout and run the shot clock all the way down to 0, and Adam Miller shoots a one-footed off-balance, shot clock beating three that airballs. Step out of bounds, pass it to nobody for a dunk, get your pocket picked, call timeout, come down, and run the whole shot clock down and throw up a one-footed airball. That was the first four possessions. I can't imagine a worse start. You're down 10-0. But then, all the good stuff that we started talking about yesterday that gave me confidence, or not confidence, belief that LSU could compete in a game against a team that stinks on ice offensively, started coming true. Just took you to get down by 10 to start scrapping and clawing and fighting away. And Mississippi State's offense did what it does. It went in the deep freeze and was awful. And LSU hit a couple of shots and all of that. Hey, it's 10-10. And you were competitive pretty much the whole first half. You took a 22-16 lead to go up by 6 points. And you looked up at halftime, and the thoughts that I had that LSU could be competitive were right there. You were down 3. Oh, by the way, you hadn't scored in 7 minutes. You were down 3 and had not scored in 7 minutes. The scoring drought that LSU went on was so sad to watch. Miller hit a runner in the paint to put you up 6 with 7 minutes and 20 seconds left. You didn't score a point in the last 7:20. And I know how this works. I know how media works, local media. Mississippi State radio today, if it's in Jackson or Columbus or Starkville or wherever, will say, that suffocating effort by that brilliant Bulldog defense held LSU without a point for 7 minutes and 20 seconds of the into the first half. And then into the second half, LSU didn't score again until there was 18-19, so another minute and a half. And LSU didn't make a field goal until there were 15:23 on the clock, so that's almost another 5 minutes. That's basically 12 minutes of game time that LSU didn't score, 45 minutes of real time. That Bulldog defense is just relentless. And that's what they would say. I would say that Mississippi State is exceptionally well coached, disciplined, long, and plays very good defense in the Southeastern Conference. And at the same time, LSU yesterday was incompetent on the offensive end. You're trying to throw an inbounds pass, and you throw it to a guy who jumps up in the air and lands out of bounds. At one point, Derek Fountain had the ball on the right wing and just took off the dribble and fell down and dropped the ball. I got frustrated. They can be better than they were last night. And that doesn't mean they could go 500 in the league or get a bye in the SEC tournament or get in the tournament or make the Sweet 16. I'm not even suggesting that. I'm saying they can do better than they did last night. And that's one of the games you can be competitive in because Mississippi State is atrocious offensively and basically was last night. They scored 64 points, which isn't all that great. And to get to 64 points, you had to have DJ Jeffries go out of his mind. He went 5 of 6 from 3. DJ Jeffries, I'm sure I have it in my notes from yesterday. Yep, 23% on the year from three-point range. He goes 5 of 6. Even with a flamethrower by Mississippi State standards, an absolute supernova of heat, they scored 64. LSU can score 64. And because LSU turned the basketball over 15 times and went on a drought that just should not happen for a college basketball team, they were not competitive late in the game. And that was disappointing to me. I'm watching going, come on. Now, they are making a little bit of a shift here. And this is far more interesting to me than LSU's record at the end of this year, or even if they won or lost last night. Because this is the ground floor for Matt McMahon. You can think that he's a disaster of a hire. He'll never get it done because they can't win a game in 2 months. You can think once he gets his players in and the NCAA settles things, I think he's going to be a great coach. You can be either one of these huge, massive swings in one direction. Either way, you have to admit he's on the ground floor. That's inarguable. And the ground floor does not give room for KJ Williams to help you next year or Trey Hannibal to help you next year. That's not going to happen. But some of the younger players might over the next 2 years. And they're getting to play more. Tyrell Ward played 25 minutes and started last night. Jalen Reed gave you 12 minutes, was 3 of 4 from the floor last night. Scored 6 points. Sean Phillips was out there for 11 minutes. That's more than we've seen from him. He had a little series in there. I mean, he grabbed 5 rebounds. He had 3 fouls, but he blocked 2 shots and had a steal. This is in 11 minutes. 2 blocks, a steal, and 5 rebounds is making an impact. And Phillips is 7 feet tall. He's kind of bouncy. Moves a little bit. He was a project. He was committed. He was going to be a mid-major player. And Matt McMahon liked him enough to say, hey, come on with us. And he had a sequence last night where he pinned a shot off the glass, then ran the floor, got in position on offense, set a couple of ball screens, ended up in a roll situation, caught the ball, did see that the shot clock was running down, and put it up off the glass and made it. Now, they counted it, and they went back and looked at it, and it barely didn't leave his hand. But he had the awareness, the ball had to get off, and it wasn't a gorgeous shot, but he knocked it off the glass. There's something there. And let me be quite clear. If I'm going to be the person who voluntarily is going to watch this team game in and game out, I'm going to temper my expectations. They may not win, but if I can see something I can cling to that may give me something positive down the road, I choose to look at it that way. Once again, you decide going to the Mardi Gras parade on Saturday and then going out to dinner or doing anything else other than watching LSU play basketball on Saturday night against Texas A&M is what you want to do, whew, more power to you. I support you. I can't do it. I got to watch. I'm going to try to take some small things. Sean Phillips getting some more playing time, small thing. Tyrell Ward knocking down another 3 last night, small thing. Have I seen better efforts from freshmen in my day than what the freshmen on this team are going to give you? Sure. They're not SEC Player of the Week. They're not scoring 26 points. They're not grabbing 16 rebounds or blocking everybody's shot. I'm just looking for some positives late in the year. And last night, offensively, it was hard to find anything. 64-53 was the final. Just a bummer of a night for LSU in the hump where you just can't overcome not scoring for 9, 10, not having a field goal for 15 minutes of game time. It's almost impossible. But on to the next, as they say. Texas A&M coming in 7:30 tip on Saturday, and I think I'm probably going to go. So that's where my social life and mental capacity leans. I just have to laugh. Still got a lot to get to over the next hour and 45 minutes. Joe Healy from D1 Baseball talking SEC baseball. Big injury from up in Arkansas today. We'll chat with him about when we come back. 9 LSU football players invited to the NFL Combine coming up. I'll tell you who it means the most to coming up next on the Hunt Palmer Show.
This is Hunt Palmer. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
Saturday, February 25th, 7 p.m. The Bulls Bands and Barrels Tour at the Lamar Dixon Expo Center. Presented by Jerry Lane Chevrolet. Edge of your seat excitement with bull riding, barrel racing, ultimate bullfighting. With a live performance by Bailey Zimmerman. With Timothy Wayne, plus two-time PBR world champion Chris Shivers, and Brinson James, the entertainer. Tickets and information at bullsbandsandbarrels.com. Saturday, February 25th, Lamar Dixon Expo Center at 7 p.m. Presented by Jerry Lane Chevrolet, the #1 Chevrolet dealer in Louisiana.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of Walker.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCORoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job, HUDCO can help.
My patients come to me because they trust that I can get the job done at a high level. Ryan Terrio and Richard Tilley have the same level of trust when it comes to roofing.
If you have a roofing issue, call HUDCO Roofing.
Give us a call, 364-1007, and we'll come to your house and give you a free inspection.
I had to leave my parents. I had to move schools. I don't know anyone here. Everything keeps changing. Why is this happening to me? I'm sure.
For the Friday edition of Handy Time, it starts with Jimmy Ott's Game Time at 10 a.m. from Ruffino's. Rohan Davey joins us to break down the Super Bowl, and Patrick Wright previews the blockbuster matchup between LSU and South Carolina. Handy Time, noon weekdays, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
NFL Combine coming up is, the NFL is never going to come out of the forefront. Going to have your Super Bowl, bask in that light for 2 weeks, and then they'll gaggle of players will show up in Indianapolis, and they'll run all over the place from February 28th to March 6th. LSU's going to have 9 former Tigers represented at the Combine, and I want to talk about the guys that I think have the most to gain in the Combine, because it means a different thing for a lot of different people. And certainly Pro Day is coming up next as well, and that'll be another opportunity for them to shine. But here are your 9 guys. Kayshon Boutte at wide receiver, obviously. B.J. Ojulari at edge. Ali Gay at defensive end, coming off a nice big play in the Senior Bowl. Clellan Roy at defensive line. Micah Baskerville at linebacker. Mekhi Garner at defensive back. Jeray Jenkins, wide receiver. Jay Ward at DB. And Anthony Bradford on the offensive line. I think the guy who has the most to gain in this Combine season is Kayshon Boutte, because this is a guy who has the ability to climb into the first round, but right now he's nowhere near it by all accounts. You can turn the tape on his freshman year and early in his sophomore year, and the production is as good as you're going to find. Now he needs to show up, talk to some people about things that went on here in Baton Rouge, time away from football, declaring you're coming back, then deciding, hey, I'm going to go to the draft. Got to have some discussions about that, and then go run like a deer. Because the tape is overwhelmingly good outside of some drops as a junior. And you can pair that with great test numbers, and you can vault yourself. There's just a ceiling as to how far Jeray Jenkins or Micah Baskerville or Anthony Bradford can push themselves in the draft. And how much better is it to be a 7th-round pick than a 6th-round pick? 5th-round pick? Big deal to go from a 3rd-round pick to a 1st-round pick. And I think the odds are against Kayshawn there, but it's a possibility. Just takes one team. We all know that. So for me, I think Kayshawn has the most to gain by going to the combine and doing some really good things. My number 2 here is Mekhi Garner. I think he's going to measure great at the combine. I think some of the tape from this past year in Baton Rouge was good. And if he could, because the measurement's going to be what it's going to be. He's going to be tall and he's going to be very, very long. His arms are going to be very, very long. He'll grade very well there just by showing up. How well does he run? Yeah, we see your tape. Yeah, okay, we know you're long. Nice reach. What's your vertical? How fast can you run? I think Mekhi Garner, because of the nature of the league and how offensive it is and how pass happy it is and how few corners have his measurables, he could really make a move. I think those two are the most, they can have the most room to grow in the combine. A close third would be Jaquelin Roy for me. He had that trajectory that you kind of expect a lineman to have as a freshman. Maybe not playing a ton in September. Game gets to be 41-14 in the 4th quarter against X non-conference opponent. Yeah, get in there, but what does that mean? And then, toward the end of that freshman year, 2020, start to flash. Show me a play here and a play there. Tackle for loss, big-time pressure, running down a ball carrier. And then you kind of explode on the scene as a sophomore and junior. And he had that trajectory as a freshman. Late in that COVID year, you started to say, oh, there's Jaquelin Roy. Then I thought he was good his sophomore and junior year. He didn't quite ascend to the All-SEC, All-American type level, but by no means was he some sort of like disappointment or bust or, he was good. So there's some tape there. Can you do something athletically in the 3-cone, shuttle, bench, even vertical, which shows some explosion, that maybe turns some heads? Again, I don't think it's quite to what Kayshawn could do. I don't think it's quite to the impressive level that Mekhi Garner could do if he went out and showed out. But I think Jaquelin Roy would be next on my list. And then it comes to the guys that you're really pulling for. Jeray Jenkins, Micah Baskerville, long time Tigers. Jeray was so productive. He doesn't strike me, though, as a guy who will catch many eyeballs at the combine. There are some guys in the past that I thought of in this vein and said, man, they could really test great. On the higher end, like Dante Jackson, of course, he's a track guy. You're like, of course. But I told people, were like, Dante Jackson, you think he could go in the first, 2 rounds? I'm like, if he runs a ridiculous time, that's just going to play. And he did. And he went in the 2nd round. Think of, guys like that can just do something so astounding. And Jeray is not necessarily like that. He's more in the career mold of Russell Gage. But Russell Gage was a one-man team at Redemptorist and is always going to test better than what Jeray Jenkins is going to do. I think Jeray Jenkins' numbers will probably be pretty modest at the Combine. There's nothing modest about what he did for 5 years in Baton Rouge. He was constantly making big plays, scoring touchdowns, big games. I just don't know if the Combine is the spot where he separates himself. It's probably production at the college level and like leadership, because he's got that. Commitment to the program, great in the locker room, great off the field. 40-yard dash, vertical, bench press, we'll see. Again, that's a guy I'm pulling for. I just don't see the huge numbers. Same thing for Baskerville. Production was phenomenal. Phenomenal. Weird winding career of kind of forgotten about at the beginning. Shows up and plays pretty well. Then maybe did he lose his starting job? But no, now he's back in the starting role. Wow, he's leading the team in tackles. Then wait, did he get passed up again? No, he's back and he's leading the team in tackles again. The production's awesome. Do I think he's going to run 4.51? I don't. I think he'll run in the 4.6s. So again, that's just not, the Combine's not the place for, the Combine is the place for the guy who can do some things that most of the other people can't do. It's for Dante Jackson. It's for Russell Gage. I'm pulling for those guys. Anthony Bradford is a strong, strong man. He needs to throw that bench press up 1 billion times. I don't know if they still do that. Every time they do the bench press, the guys on the Combine are like, yeah, not that important to NFL scouts. Care about some other things, but that Bradford's game is strength. So he needs to grab that barbell and go to work. Ali Gay, going to have good size. They did all that at the Senior Bowl, so nobody will be surprised. The sack he had off the edge of the Senior Bowl was really big. He doesn't, to me, seem like a guy that's going to test anything off the charts other than size, which they did the Senior Bowl. B.J. Ojulari, I think the production and the athleticism, they'll kind of speak for themselves on the tape. He'll do a good job at the Combine. I don't think quite in the category of the others that I'd mentioned. And then Jay Ward is the last guy here who has played a ton of football. And his versatility is his strength, not his straight line speed or vertical jump or bench press or All-American status. It's, hey, we asked him to play corner. He played corner. Hey, we asked him to kick down to the nickel. He played nickel. Hey, we moved him back to safety. He played there. He learned all those spots. He put the defense in position. Is he going to run 4.38? Probably not. Vertical 44 inches? Probably not. But he's versatile. Again, so that's not necessarily a Combine thing. It's just it's a tape thing. But hopefully all these guys have a great go at Pro Day, at the Combine and then at a Pro Day. A lot of guys have played a lot of snaps in purple and gold. I mean, you put together the snaps that Micah Baskerville, Jeray Jenkins, Jay Ward, Anthony Bradford, B.J. Ojulari, Ali Gay, Kayshawn Booty. That's a lot of snaps that those guys played. All the best to them as they pursue those dreams in the National Football League. SEC Hoops reaction from last night coming up at 1:45. Huge win by Vanderbilt if you missed that. Start talking about the Super Bowl at 2 o'clock. David Grubb at 2:15. An NBA trade deadline in 31 minutes from right now. So we'll talk to David Grubb from Hard in the Paint about what the Pels did or didn't do and what the complexion of the SEC West is at this point. Still a lot to get to. When we come back, very excited for this conversation. Joe Healy from D1 Baseball's SEC Extra. It's a new added feature they've got this coming baseball season. We'll tell you about that. And we'll talk about the SEC on the diamond. That's next on the Hunt Palmer Show.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
LWCC is Louisiana loyal. They elevate and celebrate champions of Louisiana every day here on the Hunt Palmer Show. And February's champion of Louisiana is Simone Malaz. Simone is campaign director for Restore the Mississippi River Delta, a 5-group coalition based on achieving a future Mississippi River Delta that includes a just, climate-resilient coast where people and nature thrive. She's dedicated her entire career to protecting Louisiana's coast and helping the state take a leading role on the world stage in environmental restoration. If Louisiana can lead environment change in restoration and addressing some climate change, we can help others around the world by benefiting from a strong local water management industry. And Simone is right in the middle of all of that on our precious coastline. That's why she's a champion of Louisiana. If you know someone like Simone or a nonprofit organization or a business that's doing great things in our great state, let us know. lwcc.com/champions, lwcc.com/champions, and you can nominate someone or some entity to be a champion of Louisiana so we can tell their story. We want to do it. So make sure you go to the site and nominate them to be a champion of Louisiana like Simone Malaz. Simone Malaz is February's champion of Louisiana. LWCC is Louisiana loyal.
Our listeners fire up their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Ford has $10,000 off MSRP on select new 2022 Ford F-150 trucks. $10,000 off plus 0% financing. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of Walker.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCORoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job, HUDCO can help.
My patients come to me because they trust that I can get the job done at a high level. Ryan Terrio and Richard Tilley have the same level of trust when it comes to roofing.
If you have a roofing issue, call HUDCO Roofing.
Give us a call, 364-1007, and we'll come to your house and give you a free inspection.
Saturday, February 25th, 7 p.m. The Bulls Bands and Barrels Tour at the Lamar Dixon Expo Center. Presented by Jerry Lane Chevrolet. Edge of your seat excitement with bull riding, barrel racing, ultimate bullfighting with a live performance by Bailey Zimmerman. With Timothy Wayne, plus two-time PBR world champion Chris Shivers, and Brinson James, the entertainer. Tickets and information at bullsbandsandbarrels.com. Saturday, February 25th, Lamar Dixon Expo Center at 7 p.m. Presented by Jerry Lane Chevrolet, the #1 Chevrolet dealer in Louisiana.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I had to leave my parents. I had to move schools. I don't know anyone here. Everything keeps changing. Why is this happening to me? I'm sure glad you're here.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you.
Moon Griffon is back. The voice of Louisiana politics makes his return to Baton Rouge. Catch the Moon Griffon Show weekdays from 9 to 11 a.m. on Talk 107.
Kansas City Chiefs face the Philadelphia Eagles in Super Bowl 57. Tune in Sunday, February 12th, starting at 1 p.m. with Westwood One Super Bowl preview, leading you up to kickoff at 5:30 p.m. right here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Countdown has reached 8 days until we got baseball at the box opening night next Friday, week from tomorrow. Everybody in Baton Rouge is buzzing about this #1 ranked Tiger team. One of the websites that's got LSU ranked #1 is D1Baseball.com. Of course, you know Kendall Rogers, you know Aaron Fitt, and the coverage they've provided over the years, but they've beefed things up over at D1 Baseball, including their SEC Extra package. Big part of that is Joe Healy, who joins us now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Joe, thanks so much for your time. How are you?
I'm good, hon. I appreciate it. Excited to, 8 days. Man, it is really upon us. Funny how it sneaks up on us every year, but I couldn't be more excited.
I can promise you it's not sneaking up on anybody in Baton Rouge. When your basketball team's lost 11 in a row and your baseball team's ranked number 1, it's a countdown over here. I want to get to a lot of things in the SEC and LSU related, but first I want you to tell everybody what the SEC Extra package on D1 baseball is.
Yeah, I mean, it's really what it sounds like. We just saw, and we being D1 baseball, saw an opportunity to deliver extra coverage to a conference full of teams at this point that have proven that there's a need for that, a want for that. So our goal is to just kind of cover the entire conference, even better than what D1 baseball was doing. I mean, they, maybe it was, a mile wide, but an inch deep, the coverage of SEC baseball at D1 baseball before when it was, Kendall and Aaron, but by adding, me and my colleague Mark Etheridge to SEC specific coverage, we're hoping to go a mile wide and a mile deep. So, sure, we're going to cover a ton of LSU, obviously. We're going to cover a ton of Ole Miss, Tennessee, but we're really looking to tell some cool stories up and down the conference. And along the way, I think we're going to try some things that have never really been done in college baseball coverage. And some are going to work and some aren't. And that's just kind of the deal when you're creating a new product from scratch. And most of all, though, we're having a lot of fun with it. The response has been great. And so we're just excited to kind of get going and have some actual games to talk about.
I can't wait. We actually posed a question to our audience last week saying, hey, we understand the way that basketball is going right now. A lot of times we're not going to talk a lot of Ole Miss baseball or Florida baseball in February around here because they're playing Stetson in Central Florida and Louisiana Monroe. And does anybody really care about that? So we put a poll question out and 80% said, yeah, we care. Give us anything baseball right now. We want it all. So I think you ought to have quite a strong presence from Baton Rouge with this SEC Extra package. It's going to be awesome. Let's talk a little bit about the Southeastern Conference. Some really tough news about an hour ago. Kendall Rogers broke it on Twitter. Jackson Wiggins, big-time right-hander from Arkansas, undergoing Tommy John surgery for a torn UCL. How big a loss is that for Dave Van Horn's Razorbacks?
Yeah, first off, Kendall who? I'm sorry. I mean, it's big from the standpoint of there was a lot of positivity coming out of Fayetteville about this being the long-awaited Jackson Wiggins breakout. I mean, he's had a huge arm forever. The stuff has flashed really good. It just hasn't always come together to make him the type of pitcher that people thought he could be. And so there was some thought that corner had finally been turned and he could be a guy who could be a legit Friday dude in the SEC. So from that standpoint, it's extremely tough because obviously now everyone has to move up a seat, on the bus, metaphorically speaking. And I think Arkansas staff will still be pretty decent, though. That being said, I like Hagen Smith now as the likely Friday guy, a lefty who pitched really well as a freshman. He wore down as the season went on a little bit last year, but he was really excellent up until the month of May. And, they moved him to the bullpen at some point, and he was pretty good in that role. And I think he's ready for that. The recruiting class they brought in, I think, has some interesting arms in it from the junior college side of things. And Will McIntyre pitched well in Omaha and feels like he's ready to step up. And we've heard this story about Arkansas before, right? About, just their staff is so deep and, there's so much good stuff on it. And then by the time you get to the postseason, it feels like they're kind of thin on the mound. So they will have to kind of prove it to us. But as far as I go, I'm pretty bought in on this staff still being pretty good. But, man, they would certainly love to have Wiggins be part of it.
No question about that. I think here in Baton Rouge, we're obviously familiar with Chase Dolander from the run that Tennessee went on last year. And then Paul Skeens will toe the slab for LSU on Fridays this year. Give me another couple of names in the Southeastern Conference to look for as aces on staff.
Yeah, I mean, one of the ones I feel like it's kind of strange because he pitches for Vanderbilt, which you would think would never get overlooked. But a guy who I feel like is maybe a little overlooked in this conversation is Carter Holt, who, speaking of freshmen, last year was just awesome, really from start to finish for them. He had, it's the SEC, you're going to hit some speed bumps, and he had a couple, but really from beginning to end, he was excellent. And I think his last 5 starts, he gave up 2 runs in his final 35 innings. So talk about running through the finish line. He's as good as just about anybody in the conference. And, for a Vanderbilt team that has a lot of questions on the position player side, I think he's going to have to be awesome on Fridays for this team to be as good as it can be. So he's a guy I'm kind of looking for just because I feel like he has been a little bit overlooked. A new name is Herson Waldrop. Folks down in your neck of the woods might remember him a little bit just because, Southern Miss is a prominent baseball brand.
LSU played in Hattiesburg in the regional last year.
That's right.
He was fantastic in the Saturday game.
That dude's pretty good, as it turns out. Yeah, so he's at Florida now, and so he and Brandon Sproat kind of make like a really nice 1-2. And Brandon Sproat had a nice year last year. I mean, Hunter Barco went down, I guess, about midway through the year, and Sproat really stepped up for them. And so the idea that Sproat doesn't have to just be the guy for Florida on the weekend, and he has Waldrop to kind of pitch off of. And I don't know who will throw Friday, who will throw Saturday. I don't know if it really matters that much. But, Waldrop, 14 strikeouts per 9 innings last year. And if you want to nitpick and say, okay, well, he's moving up in quality of competition, okay, sure, I will hear that argument. But to your point, he pitched really well in the regional. He tended to pitch well against everybody he faced. He pitched for Team USA this summer. Like, he's just checked every box. And so I think he's a guy who immediately comes in, becomes one of the best arms in the SEC.
You know what I kind of like about those two that you named there, Joe? LSU misses Vanderbilt and Florida on the schedule this year, so we'll take that. That's just fine with me. I'm curious. I think everybody in Starkville will give Chris Lemonis a honeymoon period after you win a national championship last year, not quite to the standard that Mississippi State expects. What do you expect from the Bulldogs this time around? I'm assuming that honeymoon period gets significantly shortened when the team right up the road wins a national championship right on top of you.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, it really did kind of things happen in a specific way that the pressure will no doubt kind of ramp back up, because that's just the nature. You know this. I mean, it's just the nature of these programs that care so much about baseball. But I think a bounce back is inevitable for State. That being said, it just doesn't matter of how much that bounce back ends up meaning, and bounce back how far. So much went wrong last year. I think I've said this before this offseason, that if you were to simulate 100 seasons for Mississippi State in 2022, I think what happened last year might have been the worst possible of the 100. So much went wrong. It felt like they never really got going. I mean, they really, from the moment they lose that series to Long Beach State, which at the time we thought, okay, maybe Long Beach State is, back to being what they were in the 90s or something. And it turned out they actually weren't that good either. From that point on, the Landon Sims injury, I think, is the big headline thing, but I think it was pretty clear that team wasn't going to necessarily be as good as we thought it was going to be regardless. I think they'll be better this year, like I said. I really like the lineup. When you're talking about Hunter Hines and Luke Hancock and Kellum Clark, they did a really good job in the transfer portal. Colton Ledbetter is kind of the big name among transfers to know there. I have questions about the mound. Cade Smith I really like as a steady arm there on the rotation, but I'm less convinced of what they have behind him. And the SEC is just so tough these days. I'm not going to tell you or your listeners anything they don't already know. Mississippi State could be a lot better this year, and they could go 15-15 in the SEC, and they're a 2 seed, and that's a step forward. I'm not going to deny that. But the road to get back to being national title good in this conference is really, really tough to traverse. And so I just don't – a bounce back, yes. To what degree remains to be seen.
The only story I can think of in sports history where you went from getting fired to getting a statue built for you in the span of about 6 weeks, Mike Bianco in Oxford last year. How does this Rebels team look with a lot of the big names like Tim Elko out the door?
They can still be pretty special, I think. I really like that lineup still. Jacob Gonzalez is the best shortstop in the sport, and Kemp Alderman's coming off a really nice year. Peyton Chatinier probably actually didn't play as well last year as he really can. So, he might be a bounce-back candidate. They did well in the portal. Ethan Groff from Tulane, Anthony Calarco from Northwestern are going to be immediate impact guys. TJ McCants, I think, is probably better than what his numbers were last year. And for anybody who followed his story, last year was dealing with the passing of his mother. His mother was terminally ill, and that kind of affected him in a specific way. And so, maybe this year is a little bit of a bounce back for him. So I really like that group. You pair it with Hunter Elliott at the front of the rotation, who's another Friday, one of those top-end Friday guys the SEC has. Yep. I think it's still a team that could make a deep run. That being said, my question about them is I compare it to State the previous year, where that was a team that won a national title, and then you lose guys like Tanner Allen and Rowdy Jordan. Productive players, sure, but more importantly than that, centerpieces of the whole operation. And Ole Miss had that a little bit last year with Elko, Kevin Graham, Justin Bench, Hayden Dunhurst. If Ole Miss baseball was a house, those were load-bearing walls. And when you lose pieces like that, there's the production side of it, yes, but there's also kind of like the leadership and steady presence in the clubhouse aspect of it. And those are voids that have to be filled in. And sometimes teams do a better job than others filling those in, and that's going to be a challenge to watch for Ole Miss.
You mentioned the questions that you have for Ole Miss. Questions that you have about this LSU team as they entered season number 1.
Well, they're in a really good spot because we kind of have to immediately start nitpicking when we talk about questions for LSU. I mean, I think one of the big ones is infield defense. And look, the team wasn't great defensively last year. I think that's actually being kind by saying it wasn't great. And ultimately, the team was still pretty good. Texas A&M was just as bad defensively, and they made it to Omaha, right? So, like, that is kind of a nitpick. But that being said, when you're running back the infield they are with Jordan Thompson at shortstop, and you're going to slide in Tommy White at third base, and you've got a competition going on at second base involving a lot of guys who are, to varying degrees, good defensively or not, there's just going to be some question marks there. And it helps that you have Trey Morgan, who, for my money, is the best defensive first baseman in the country. He certainly helps. But there are questions all around, and there's a lot of positivity coming out of Baton Rouge, about the way Tommy White has played defensively and the steps that Jordan Thompson has made, and Jordan Thompson's healthier this year. And so there's a lot of reason for optimism if you want to look for it there. But there's a difference between doing that in January in these preseason scrimmages and then doing it once the lights come on, especially in SEC play. But that's the biggest thing for me is that. Beyond that, if we really want to start nitpicking, on the mound, you have to do a level of projection that you don't necessarily have to in the lineup. Like, I have zero doubts about the lineup, offensively at least. On the pitching, though, Skeens is stepping up from a lower level of college baseball. Thatcher Hurd is coming off of a back injury. You're looking for jumps from Grant Taylor and Ty Floyd, and then you've got some newcomers. And I still have a lot of confidence in that unit. Let me be very clear to your listeners. But, if you wanted to look at that, I think you could make an argument that they are leaning on a lot of ifs from that group. And if so, if you were to tell me that something actually does kind of get a little wonky on them, I think there's an opportunity for the pitching to be that. That being said, I also have a lot of confidence in Wes Johnson coming in and kind of being able to shepherd that group into being the high-end pitching staff that they can be.
If you're starved for baseball content, get over to d1baseball.com. They've got the SEC Extra. That's where you can find, obviously, Kendall Rogers, Aaron Fitt, and our guest here, Joe Healy. Joe, thanks so much for the time. We'll do it again soon. We're getting close to baseball season.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it, hon. Thank you.
He is Joe Healy. That was great stuff. Really appreciated all of that. We'll come back and react to what Joe had to say, closing out hour number 1 next.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This year, the only app you need at your Super Bowl party is FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Download FanDuel now and use the promo code 1045ESPN so you can bet the Super Bowl 57 with a no-sweat first bet. You'll get up to $3,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. FanDuel lets you bet on everything from the money line to point spreads to who's going to score a touchdown. I'm leaning Chiefs right now, but I could be convinced otherwise before I make my pick coming up tomorrow. All that's on a top-rated sportsbook app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Best of all, you can get paid your winnings instantly. So join FanDuel today with the promo code 1045ESPN to claim your no-sweat first bet on Super Bowl 57. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Must be 21 and present in Louisiana. First online real money wager only. $10 deposit required. Refund issues and non-withdrawable bonus bet. Expires in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. If you're somebody who has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-877-770-STOP.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Saturday, February 25th, 7 p.m. The Bulls, Bands, and Barrels Tour at the Lamar Dixon Expo Center. Presented by Jerry Lane Chevrolet. Edge of your seat excitement with bull riding, barrel racing, ultimate bullfighting. With a live performance by Bailey Zimmerman. With Timothy Wayne, plus two-time PBR world champion Chris Shivers, and Brinson James, the entertainer. Tickets and information at bullsbandsandbarrels.com. Saturday, February 25th, Lamar Dixon Expo Center at 7 p.m. Presented by Jerry Lane Chevrolet, the #1 Chevrolet dealer in Louisiana.
There it is, the extra.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Thursday's AFR, presented by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana. We'll give you the latest on Derek Carr's visit to the Saints, and we'll recap LSU, Mississippi State, and hoops. Join us, 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Really enjoyed that conversation with Joe Healy of over there at D1 Baseball. Those guys just cover the sport incredibly detailed, and I eat it up. I know that the ins and outs of every baseball program in the Southeastern Conference is not necessarily super interesting to some people who are just more of a big-picture college baseball fan. Certainly love the Tigers and love to go out to the box, but they're not going to grind who Vanderbilt's starting pitcher is on a given Thursday. But I think there's some information there that's very, very pertinent. And one of the things that I took from that conversation, if you look at today, at the answers he gave in the injury that we saw today, and you're talking about the biggest, most talented arms in the SEC. Well, the first ones he mentioned were Hurston Waldrop and Brandon Sproat at Florida, two guys who are all-American type pitchers. LSU doesn't play Florida this year. Then he went to Carter Holton from Vanderbilt. LSU doesn't play Vanderbilt this year. And then you look to Fayetteville at what happened today, and Jackson Wiggins having a torn UCL and having Tommy John surgery. That's 4 guys out of this league LSU won't see in those 30 SEC games. Holton last year was pitching so well for Vanderbilt, and for whatever reason, Tim Corbin decided not to pitch him in the LSU series. Remember, that was the last weekend of the year last year, and LSU went up to Vanderbilt and just put on an offensive show and swept Vanderbilt over 3 days. Holton never picked up a ball. He threw against Arkansas on May 15th, and they held him to the opener of the SEC tournament against Ole Miss, where he was very, very good. Got a win in that game. They won 3-1, and he was sensational over 6 innings. Really, really good left-hander. LSU won't see him. Sproat and Waldrop, nope. Now you got to see all 3 of Tennessee's dudes. And Hunter Elliott, who he mentioned from Ole Miss, is going to come in, and he's excellent. And there are plenty of guys you're going to have to see. South Carolina's got an All-American at the front of their rotation as well. So it's not as if you're skipping the whole league, but these things are important. And if you look at Tennessee last year and what they were doing to some people, with Dolander and Burns and Beam, and if LSU had to go to Knoxville last year instead of Starkville, like that's could be a 3-game difference in your 30-game SEC record. So I don't apologize for a miss here or there. It was a break LSU didn't catch Tennessee last year. Might be a break you're not catching Florida and Vanderbilt this year. Maybe you think LSU's so good it doesn't matter, and I'm not going to tell you you're wrong, but I'm just telling you. I asked him for some top-end frontline starters outside of Dolander and Skeens. He gave me 2 from Florida and 1 from Vanderbilt. You might see him in Hoover. You might see him in Omaha. That'll be about it. So I don't mind that. Plus Jackson Wiggins, unfortunately, that's just a bummer. 2 years in a row, frontline guy from Arkansas goes down before the season ever starts with Tommy John. Connor Nolan admirably filled in last year as kind of their ace, savvy, former quarterback, senior guy throwing sinkers. Wiggins is 97, 98, 99 mile-an-hour fastball. Got to go into the knife, so that's a bummer. But Joe Healy was awesome. We're going to try to get him back on more frequently during baseball season, which obviously cranks up starting next week. That's it for hour number 1 here. If you missed any, catch it on demand, 1045ESPN.com, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube. Lots to get to in hour number 2. David Grubb from Hard in the Paint. NBA trade deadline wraps up here in 5 minutes, and the Pels just made a move. We'll get to that and a lot more in the second hour on Palmer Show.
Bayou Ford has $10,000 off MSRP on select new 2022 Ford F-150 trucks. $10,000 off plus 0% financing. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
I had to leave my parents. I had to move schools. I don't know anyone here. Everything keeps changing. Why is this happening to me? I'm sure glad you're here.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Saturday, February 25th, 7 p.m. The Bulls Bands and Barrels Tour at the Lamar Dixon Expo Center. Presented by Jerry Lane Chevrolet. Edge of your seat excitement with bull riding, barrel racing, ultimate bullfighting with a live performance by Bailey Zimmerman. With Timothy Wayne, plus two-time PBR world champion Chris Shivers and Brinson James, the entertainer. Tickets and information at bullsbandsandbarrels.com. Saturday, February 25th, Lamar Dixon Expo Center at 7 p.m. Presented by Jerry Lane Chevrolet, the #1 Chevrolet dealer in Louisiana.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of Walker.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCORoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job, HUDCO can help.
My patients come to me because they trust that I can get the job done at a high level. Ryan Terrio and Richard Tilley have the same level of trust when it comes to roofing.
If you have a roofing issue, call HUDCO Roofing.
Give us a call, 364-1007, and we'll come to your house and give you a free inspection.
Start your day with news and newsmakers. Start your day with traffic, weather, and local stories that are important to you. Kickstart your day every day. Mornings with Brian Haldane from 6 to 9 a.m. Weekdays on Talk 107.3.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Doug Brown. As the NBA trade deadline passes, what a day it's been. One of the last deals to get done. ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski reporting center James Wiseman goes from the Warriors to the Pistons in a 3-team deal with the Hawks. ESPN's Kendra Andrews on Golden State moving Wiseman.
At this trade deadline, with the Warriors still just hovering right above 500, Stephen Curry out indefinitely, the Warriors, if they could make a move now that they thought would help them, they were going to do it.
Kendra Andrews on NBA Today. Woj also reports the Clippers get Eric Gordon and Mason Plumlee in a 3-team deal with the Rockets and Grizzlies. The Pelicans get Josh Richardson in a deal with the Spurs. San Antonio gets Devontae Graham and 4 second-round picks. Jay Crowder gets traded twice today, first from the Suns to the Nets in the Kevin Durant deal. Then Crowder goes to the Bucks as part of a 3-team deal with the Pacers. Crowder hasn't played this season after agreeing to sit while the Suns worked out a trade.
We all know the game isn't over till it's over. So next time your car breaks down, don't call it quits. Head to eBay Motors. They have 122 million parts to take your car into overtime. Get the right parts at the right prices. ebaymotors.com. Let's ride.
Now, Hunt Palmer. Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Holding down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
All NBA GMs, drop your cell phones. Trade deadline has come and gone. It's been an absolute tweet explosion. Woj, Shams, everybody going nuts. Pels, it appears, made one move. We'll get with David Grubb here in 15 minutes to make sure that's not it. But it sounds like Devontae Graham on the way out, Josh Richardson coming aboard, former Tennessee Vol, going to join the Pellies. We'll see if anything else comes in the next 15 minutes. David Grubb from Hard in the Paint podcast going to join us to break it all down. Might get a thought on David Carr as well, as reportedly David Carr met with the Saints until 10:30 last night and is back at the facility today. I can't imagine this goes anywhere other than David Carr signing with the Saints. So we'll see. Well, I guess being traded to the Saints would be the more proper way to put it. Let's start talking about the Super Bowl. It's Thursday. I guess we can start talking about it. And I think the most appropriate way to start for me, we'll break down the game. We'll get into props and all that kind of stuff tomorrow. But when guys move on and we start talking about legacies and Hall of Fame and all this kind of stuff, the Super Bowl is inevitably where we circle back. And you don't get that many swings at it. Not everyone's Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, where you're there every year or two. Sometimes you get to one. Sometimes you only win one. And it's legacy defining once you climb the mountain all the way this far. So my thought was, okay, who are the 5 people within those 2 organizations who stand to benefit the most from this Sunday? I'll count them down from 5 to 1. I think number 5 on my list is going to be Howie Roseman. He's the general manager of the Philadelphia Eagles. Howie Roseman was named the GM in 2010, there for the end of the Andy Reid era, which now you look back, maybe not the wisest thing in the world to move on from one of the best coaches in the history of the league. They hired Chip Kelly, and then in 2015, they basically promoted Chip Kelly to GM as well, so Roseman ended up becoming the VP of football operations, and then Chip Kelly got fired, so they moved him back to GM. He's the one that hired Doug Peterson. That roster was very good. They win the Super Bowl with Nick Foles, and then you've got the whole Carson Wentz, Nick Foles thing, and they've got to kind of blow that up, and they move on from Peterson, and you end up with maybe the best team in the league this year that was of his design. And when you think about all the different ebbs and flows, Roseman continues to get the Eagles back to the top of the NFC. Did it with Andy Reid. Then had to do it with Doug Peterson. Now he's doing it with Nick Sirianni. You got different quarterbacks in and out. But this team is really, really good. And I think if you add a second Super Bowl with a second coach and a second quarterback, all of a sudden you kind of default back to like, man, Roseman kind of knows what he's doing. And Saints fans are all too familiar with that, as you understand that the Saints have kind of gotten handcuffed a bit, to be polite, by the Eagles over the last 2 years. So I think number 5 on my list is Howie Roseman. Number 4 on my list here is Andy Reid. The second Super Bowl for him would be phenomenal. But his legacy is cemented as one of the best coaches ever, in my opinion. He's been to 10 conference championship games. 10. He's coached, this will be his 4th Super Bowl. Would be his 2nd title. And I think that elevates you, certainly. He's already an all-time great, but you join rarer air if you can get the 2nd one. So certainly I think it means a lot to him. It would certainly be a benefit to his resume. I think he's a Hall of Fame coach anyway. 10 conference championship games. But this would be a nice add-on. I think of this list, as I move forward, Reed's got the least to prove. So, yeah, does it help? Certainly. Is it a slam dunk, echelon moving thing? I just think it means a lot to Andy Reid. I got him at 4. Number 3. Patrick Mahomes is number 3 on this list for me. Because he's attempting here to move off of one list and on to another one. And I think this is more impactful than the Andy Reid example I just went through. Patrick Mahomes right now is in the company of Trent Dilfer, Brad Johnson, Nick Foles, Joe Flacco, Jeff Hostetler, Mark Rippon. Now, I would certainly toss Drew Brees and Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre and Kurt Warner into that list. They're Hall of Famers. But it's still got Dilfer and Johnson and Foles and Flacco and Hostetler and Rippon, and the list can go on. You go from that list to this one if you win on Sunday. Peyton Manning, John Elway, Bart Starr, Roger Staubach, Ben Roethlisberger, Eli. I would maintain that Eli might not carry as much weight as Peyton and John Elway, Bart Starr, Roger Staubach, Ben Roethlisberger. But that list is better. And Mahomes is on a trajectory to be potentially one of the all-time greats. They're in the AFC Championship game every year. He's playing in another Super Bowl. But you got to win them. So for me, number 3 on the list of guys with the most to gain on Sunday for their legacy and their career, it's Pat Mahomes. And I think there are 2 guys that stand to gain more than Pat Mahomes on Sunday. Number 2 on my list of the top 5 is Jalen Hurts. You become a Super Bowl winning quarterback. It's a big deal. I just kind of poked fun a little bit, tongue-in-cheek, at that list of guys who have won one that may not be all-time greats in the league. But it's a big deal to win a Super Bowl. And this is a guy who was benched in Alabama. This is a guy who was not thought of as a serious NFL quarterback. And then when the Eagles selected him, everyone went, that's a little bit of a reach for a guy that got told to hit the bricks in T-Town. He's not the starter. He kind of comes in and do some wildcat things. There's an injury. Okay, go play against the Saints. Oh, wow. Ran all over the Saints, but you can't run all over everybody in this league. This guy's a running quarterback. He just tucks it and goes, yeah. You got to win from the pocket in this league. It's more the story of Jalen Hurts, which is a little bit different than most. He joins the echelon of the Super Bowl winning quarterbacks. That is quite a large accomplishment for Jalen Hurts. I think there's a lot of people that are pulling for him because through all of this, the benching and then coming back in the SEC championship game and then having Tua play again and then going somewhere else and then being down in the NFL, he's never really been any sort of a malcontent whatsoever. Just kind of, he's been mild-mannered, cool, and wildly productive. And then you have the injury this year, and you're thinking, man, this guy's got a shoulder injury. He's running more than anybody in the league. He probably can't be his normal self. And who knows? This path the Eagles have taken to the Super Bowl by beating the Giants and then a team that literally didn't have a quarterback in the 49ers is the easiest road that's ever been paved to the Super Bowl, in my opinion. But you're here. And nobody's going to talk much about the Giants or the 49ers if you beat the Chiefs. So Jalen Hurts is number 2. 5 on my list, Howie Roseman, Eagle GM, trying to climb the mountain again. Fourth on my list, Andy Reid. Trying to win his second as a coach. Third on my list, Patrick Mahomes, trying to ascend to the 2 Super Bowl club. Second on my list, Jalen Hurts. Those are your 2 quarterbacks. Number 1 on my list, who do you think it is? Taylor Sharp, you can open your microphone and guess who you think it is.
Okay, who do you have 5 through 2 again, running back?
Howie Roseman, Eagles GM.
Yep.
Andy Reid, Chiefs coach. Patrick Mahomes, Chiefs quarterback. Jalen Hurts, Eagles quarterback. Most to gain with a win on Sunday.
Nick Sirianni.
You would be incorrect. The correct answer, of course, is Juju Smith-Schuster. You would say, why would it be Juju Smith-Schuster?
Why would it be Juju?
It's very simple. Juju Smith-Schuster's agent said, hey, we're going to put this little language in the contract. If he plays 50% of the snaps in a Super Bowl and you win, he gets $1 million. So Juju is playing for $1 million bonus in the Super Bowl.
I'm assuming it's 50% of the offensive snaps.
That is
right?
correct.
Okay.
50% of the offensive snaps.
I was about to say, Juju going both ways.
I can see a scenario where Juju rolls that ankle pretty good in the second quarter, and the Chiefs get a 2-touchdown lead. You run over and tap Andy Reid on the shoulder and say, hey, coach, look, I'm going to need to be in on some of these running plays. You're going to need to get me on the field. I got $1 million G's riding on this, and you're not $1 million G's, $1 million riding on this, and I'm going to need to be in when we're not throwing the football for some of these snaps. And I'm certainly going to be in for all 3 of Mahomes' knees at the end because we got to get me to these 50% of the snaps. Juju Smith-Schuster, nice little contract wrinkle there. I don't think the ownership balks too much when you're a billionaire and a player says, hey, if we win the Super Bowl and I play half the offensive snaps, can I have $1 million? We win the Super Bowl? Sure, Juju. Let's just put that clause right in there at the bottom of page 37. Perfect. So there's your list there, a little tongue-in-cheek with Juju, but I do think there are some significant legacy building steps on the line, as there almost always are in Super Bowl games, and certainly that'll be the case coming up on Sunday. Incidentally, if you are in the car in transit during the Super Bowl, maybe leaving a party, heading home, whatever the case may be on Sunday, we will have your coverage of the Super Bowl from the pregame show all the way through the broadcast of the game. So lock us in at 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. We will have the broadcast of the big game coming up on Sunday. When we come back, NBA, I keep saying NFL, NBA trade deadline passed 13 minutes ago. The Pels made at least one move. We'll chat with David Grubb from the Hard in the Paint podcast coming up next on the Hunt Palmer Show.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Ford, love telling you about Bayou Ford. Check out the website, BayouFord.com, and I'll tell you about the convenience that is their service department. No one likes servicing your vehicles. You don't like to pay for that. You don't like to sit in the waiting room for hours on end while they get to your car and then they need the part, and you're just scrolling through your phone and looking up at the Price is Right or something. You've wrecked your whole day. Not the case with Bayou Ford. You need your car serviced. They've got 6 full-time drivers on staff. They will drive to you. They will give you a loaner. They will take your car to the dealership. They will service it. When it's done, they'll bring your car right back to you, take the loaner home. You've gotten the kids to school. You've gotten the kids to practice. You've gotten yourself to work. You've gotten on about your day, and your vehicle has been serviced. Got to take care of those things. They're one of the biggest purchases that we make in life. So Bayou Ford, they want to make it as convenient as possible, and they certainly do. Check out the website. The inventory is all there, updated daily as inventory moves in and moves out. If you're in the market for a new car, let them buy your car back. It's a great start to getting in some new wheels, and every new purchase at Bayou Ford comes with a 1,000,000-mile powertrain warranty. For the life of that Bayou Ford vehicle, you will have that warranty. BayouFord.com is a website. Bayou Ford, where they're going to do right by you.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust poll of the day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, anytime. Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the poll of the day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
Saturday, February 25th, 7 p.m. The Bulls Bands and Barrels Tour at the Lamar Dixon Expo Center. Presented by Jerry Lane Chevrolet. Edge of your seat excitement with bull riding, barrel racing, ultimate bullfighting with a live performance by Bailey Zimmerman.
Rock in a hard place,
with Timothy Wayne, plus two-time PBR world champion Chris Shivers, and Brinson James, the entertainer. Tickets and information at bullsbandsandbarrels.com. Saturday, February 25th, Lamar Dixon Expo Center at 7 p.m. Presented by Jerry Lane Chevrolet, the #1 Chevrolet dealer in Louisiana.
I had to leave my parents. I had to move schools. I don't know anyone here. Everything keeps changing. Why is this happening to me? I'm sure glad you're here.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
All right, let's say ah.
Jimmy Ott and Charles Henniger for the Thursday evening edition of Game Time presented by Bet Rivers. We're downtown at Jolly Pearl Oyster Bar on North facing Town Square. Game Time, 6 to 8 p.m. presented by Bet Rivers on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Fans of the NBA woke up to some jaw-dropping news this morning. Kevin Durant was on the move. Trade deadline passed 18 minutes ago. David Grubb, Hard in the Paint podcast, joined us to break it all down. Be honest, David, how many times have you refreshed your Twitter page in the last 8 hours?
I tried to stay more patient and stay away from it because it was just flooded with so much opinion and speculation. So I just kind of got off completely and stuck more with my my ESPN ticker and my Shams watch and just did it that way.
Understandable. Well, it's come and gone, and right now we understand that the Pelicans have made one move. Break it down for us.
If you want to, okay.
It's a lot, I know.
The Pelicans have moved Devontae Graham and 4 second-round picks for Josh Richardson from the San Antonio Spurs. That's it. That's the only deal that gets done today. Now, I'll look around the rest of the Western Conference. I'll let you ask the question. I'll start with there and just say it's clear that both the fan base and I would imagine the NBA at large is looking at the Pelicans and kind of wondering, that's it?
Obviously, the West went nuts. So you were headed a direction. I'll let you go. I mean, I understand where the frustration may be or maybe the skepticism may be, being that the star power just flooded the Western Conference and in part into the Pelicans division, which I know isn't the end of the world. But what is your reflection on what we saw today?
Well, you start with the Phoenix Suns, and they add Kevin Durant. They still have DeAndre Ayton. They have Devin Booker. They have Chris Paul. That is a very good team.
It is.
However they fill it out, with other players, that is a very, very good team. You talk about a team like the Clippers. They got better today. And then the players that they've added. The Golden State Warriors get off of James Wiseman, who wasn't in their rotation, and get back Gary Payton II, who was very good for them last season, playing multiple positions. So they got better. The Lakers, of course, got better. It just seems that the teams ahead of the Pelicans and around the Pelicans, they added players who could contribute and make their team better. Now, look, I firmly believe that moving Devontae Graham is addition by subtraction in some ways. But when you look at what the other teams did, Denver adding a Thomas Bryant to their front court to go along with, Nikola Jokic, it seems as if the Pelicans, amongst the teams that are contending in the West, that think that they're in that, have a chance. I mean, even Minnesota adding Mike Conley. Yeah, they gave up D'Angelo Russell, but I think Mike Conley's a much better fit for them. He brings maturity to a team that didn't have it. So for the Pelicans, all you've done really is bring in another guy who can play a position that you have plenty of people at. And you didn't address your rim protection needs. You didn't get better at the point guard position. You're still very young there. I don't think they're a better team than they were yesterday in any real sense, because I don't think Devontae Graham was going to log heavy minutes in the postseason. So to me, you look at the Pelicans situation, financially, sure, they unloaded Devontae's contract for a couple of years and you avoid paying the luxury tax. But it makes it much harder this offseason now for the Pelicans to have salary filler to make a bigger deal. Because remember, Jackson Hayes, restricted free agent. I don't think the Pelicans are going to make him a qualifying offer. Josh Richardson is an unrestricted free agent. Garrett Temple's deal is non-guaranteed. So who do you have financially that you can make a move with this summer to make a deal? You're counting on that one draft pick that you have that you can swap with the Lakers. And right now, I'd have to say the Lakers look like they're in better position than the Pelicans. So there may not be a swap at all to take.
And that's one thing that a lot of people don't consider when you think about NBA trades is the money's got to match up as well. It's not just talent for talent. So I'm curious, in your opinion, why the Pelicans, quote unquote, stood pat and didn't make a splash.
The dream of seeing the team healthy.
Yeah.
We already got an announcement yesterday that Zion won't be back until after the All-Star break, which is what I and just about everybody else who covered the team expected. You didn't think that they were going to bring him back on the road before the All-Star break. He would have had to play in all 3 games to be eligible for the All-Star game. So there was no doubt that he wasn't going to play. And as we talked about, there's going to be roughly 20 games when Zion comes back, and you're counting on all these guys to be healthy and in tune by the time you get to the playoffs, and you're thinking you're going to get a good look at this. But this is a lot like Bigfoot. People have pictures of Bigfoot, and they believe in Bigfoot. And the Pelicans believe that they can see this team healthy for an extended period of time. But I've never seen it in the 8 years that I've been covering the team and in the 21 years that they've been in New Orleans. Its injuries have gone hand in hand with this franchise. So I just don't know how you can have this much faith in these guys to stay healthy, especially when you didn't shore up positions of need.
What if I try to play devil's advocate and say, hey, they realize this core is still young and they're not going to do anything for the next 3 months that may hurt them next year or the year after that?
Can you guarantee that what you're looking at this offseason is going to be any better?
Nope.
Look who moved. You had an opportunity. The opportunity was there for Kevin Durant. You missed out on it twice. You also missed out on the fire sale going on in Brooklyn. You didn't grab a Nicholas Claxton. You didn't grab, anybody that could have helped in the front line. You didn't go after somebody. It didn't even have to be a star. They just needed a rotational player up front, and those guys were moving around the league. You see guys like Kessler Edwards getting moved. You see guys like Juan Toscano-Anderson getting moved, Damian Jones. They're bigs who got moved all over the place, and you got 2 bigs on this roster that Willie Green has no intention of using. So what's the wait for? There is no tomorrow in professional sports.
Interesting. David Grubbs, our guest, Hard in the Paint podcast, talking Pels and the trade deadline. Do you feel differently? Obviously, I think you've answered the question, but you clearly feel differently now about this Pelicans team and their prospects in the playoffs than you did 24 hours ago.
Yeah, I think it's a lot harder. The West, certainly, again, the teams that it's a matchup-driven league, and when you get to the postseason, this is a team that's inexperienced as a group in the playoffs. They will be coming in, banged up, unless we see some real progress over the last part of the season. There's still some injuries they're dealing with, and I just don't know if they have a high enough level of talent now to beat a Denver, to beat an LA even, either one of them, in a 7-game series. I think that the Pelicans can still – look, if Zion Williamson comes back and he's healthy, yeah, I still think they could probably win a first-round series depending on where they get. But there's still a realistic chance that this team doesn't get out of the play-in. They could still finish 7, 8, 9, 10, and it's one loss and go home. So I don't know how confident I am in the New Orleans Pelicans today. Something could change. They could play better and go on a winning streak and make me feel differently. But today, I don't think you could reasonably say that they're a favorite to either get home court advantage on the first round of the playoffs or advance past the second round. And I think a month ago, in late December especially, we would have thought those things were a real possibility.
Does Josh Richardson help at all? That's the one ad they made.
How?
Yeah.
Like, he's a decent three-point shooter, but he's 6'5". You got those guys. Who's he going to take minutes from? Whose minutes does he play? Because are you going to put him in the backcourt and take minutes away from Kyra Lewis, who you just started playing? We know that Dyson Daniels is going to be back soon. Are you not going to play Dyson Daniels, who's likely your best perimeter defender? Are you going to not play Najee Marshall? You're going to not play Brandon Ingram? You're going to not play Herb Jones? Who does he get minutes from at 6'5", and a guy who is either going to play some point guard for the Heat and some point guard for Memphis, but I don't see that role for him with the Pelicans.
Tough to see. David Grubb, our guest here. Briefly here, David Carr met with the Saints until 10:30 at night last night, back at the facility today. Your thoughts on that potential and where it's headed?
I bet mine are pretty much in line with yours. I mean, look, David Carr is not going to solve your problem. No. Like, sometimes you go to the grocery store and you really want something, like you're looking for a nice piece of fruit, and all of them are bruised. I'm not taking the one that's least bruised. I'm just going to have to get some fruit somewhere else. And to me, if I'm the Saints, I'd rather have this season be bad, again, knowing it's going to be bad, with a quarterback that I'm not spending a tremendous amount of money for, because David Carr's contract is not small. I just don't get it. He doesn't make the Saints a favorite to do anything. They might be the best team in the NFC South, which is a very low bar, but I don't see why you wouldn't just wait. I'd rather put Jameis out there again. Maybe you go 4-13, so what? But you'll be back in the first round with a decent pick looking for a quarterback, rather than having to deal with the David Carr, who in 10 years has not shown you anything as an NFL quarterback.
Is it a likelihood or a possibility even that you say, why don't you wait? And I totally agree that you got so many holes to plug that plugging a $30 million quarterback or however you renegotiate the deal is going to exacerbate some of those problems. But Dennis Allen may not have time to wait.
Well, then that's on Mickey Loomis.
Exactly.
If you're allowing your coach to make decisions because he's trying to save his job, then A, you hired the wrong person to be your coach, and B, he's making decisions that are going to destroy you for the long term. Look, we all understand in sports, after you've had a great run, there is going to be a bad period. The Patriots are going through theirs. The Cowboys went through theirs, are still in theirs. This is what happens in the NFL, and the Saints have to kind of embrace it and go through the rebuilds. We found out last year this team was not as good as we thought. It's not a step away. It's not a quarterback away. There's a lot of holes.
It seems to be the consensus from everyone that I've talked to about this, yet it feels like they're going to sign him. Do you think Derek Carr will be the quarterback of the Saints next year?
I think he will, and sadly, I think Dennis Allen is trying to make this the most boring milquetoast offense. How is David Carr going to use Alvin Kamara? I don't see how this works. He's going to check down. He's going to make the safest play possible. It's like you're getting Andy Dalton the Wonder Years.
It's not all sunshine and rainbows down in the Big Easy. David, we appreciate the time. We'll do it again soon.
All right, brother. Take it easy.
David Grubb, Heart in the Paint podcast. You can find it's weird. Yes, there's a reason sometimes some folks comment on sports and some folks are making millions of dollars in the business of sports, but it looks so obvious to almost anyone who's paying attention that the Saints dumping money into an average quarterback and neglecting all the other holes on the team is counterproductive. Yet it just continues to look like that's the direction they're headed down. And I was curious what the reaction from David would be on the Pelicans' moves. There's no time like the present in professional sports, and looks like the Pels have kind of squandered their opportunity to markedly improve their team for this year. They're just hoping on a wing and a prayer that the injuries clean themselves up. We'll see what happens. But Pelicans don't make many moves, and those other folks in the West, the Clippers, the Lakers, the Mavs, the Suns, certainly, they're making moves. We'll see what it means. 30 minutes left to go here. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
One Bath and Closets, onebathandclosets.com. Gentlemen, there's a female in your life who keeps saying, hey, we gotta do something with this bathroom. This is not going to get it done. I've got the answer for you. It's One Bath and Closets. David Duvall and his team have been doing this for 30 years. They're going to come in, and they're going to customize a solution for your bathroom, and maybe a full-scale remodel. They got their licensed contractor. They can do it start to finish. Make one call to one contractor. It's One Bath and Closets. Maybe it's something simple like a tub-to-shower conversion. Very, very popular. Go to the website, onebathandclosets.com, and look at the work they've done on the tub-to-shower conversions. If your closet is a mess, you don't know where to put everything, you got no room to put everything, let David and his team come in and put together a custom solution for you. It starts with one questionnaire. They understand what you need. They design it for you, customize it to your needs. You're not going to pay for the rip out of your current closet. You're not going to pay for the installation of the new one. You're just going to pay for that unit. That's the deal that he's given our customers here at the Hunt Palmer Show. We appreciate that very, very much. Go to onebathandclosets.com and check out all the testimonials, all the great work that they can do here in the Baton Rouge area. I can promise you this, they're going to do it right the first time and leave the competition behind. It's One Bath and Closets at onebathandclosets.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
I've got that blue sky, I've got that sunshine.
I had to leave my parents. I had to move schools. I don't know anyone here. Everything keeps changing. Why is this happening to me? I'm sure glad you're here.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of Walker.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCORoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job, HUDCO can help.
My patients come to me because they trust that I can get the job done at a high level. Ryan Terrio and Richard Tilley have the same level of trust when it comes to roofing.
If you have a roofing issue, call HUDCO Roofing.
Give us a call, 364-1007, and we'll come to your house and give you a free inspection.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Saturday, February 25th, 7 p.m. The Bulls Bands and Barrels Tour at the Lamar Dixon Expo Center. Presented by Jerry Lane Chevrolet. Edge of your seat excitement with bull riding, barrel racing, ultimate bullfighting with a live performance by Bailey Zimmerman. With Timothy Wayne, plus two-time PBR world champion Chris Shivers and Brinson James, the entertainer. Tickets and information at bullsbandsandbarrels.com. Saturday.
For the Friday edition of Handy Time, it starts with Jimmy Ott's Game Time at 10 a.m. from Rafino's. Rohan Davey joins us to break down the Super Bowl, and Patrick Wright previews the blockbuster matchup between LSU and South Carolina. Handy Time, noon weekdays, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
So if you told me yesterday when I was preparing to place my radio bets on SEC basketball, Hunt, Florida's going into Coleman Coliseum, taking on Alabama. Colin Castleton, kind of the heartbeat of that Florida team, he's going to go for 29 points and 10 rebounds. You go, whoa. That's big. I think Florida's got a chance to win that game. They don't. Alabama was up 52-23, 29 points at the half, and blistered Florida 97-69. They win it by 28 points in Coleman. Florida just does not have the firepower to stick with Alabama, who is 11-0 in SEC play. And I start kind of looking at this going, do they have a chance to run the table? It's unlikely, in my opinion. Obviously, they had the hiccup against Oklahoma, but they've still got at Auburn, at Tennessee, and at A&M on their schedule. Auburn comes to Coleman, and so does Arkansas. So, while I think it's very unlikely they lose 2 conference games, in my opinion, I still think the significant threat is posed that they'll lose 1. Can't wait for our Alabama and Tennessee. Should be a dandy. But last night, the Gators were no match for Alabama. I did give you Bama minus the points, and that one hit. I also gave you Tennessee minus the points as they headed down to Nashville to face Vanderbilt. That one didn't hit. Tennessee on the money line would not have hit because Vanderbilt hit a 3 at the buzzer to win the game. Tennessee had 3 different opportunities to win this game with less than 10 seconds left. 3 chances in the last 10 seconds to win the game and couldn't do it. Julian Phillips, who was a 5-star who signed at LSU, had a run out. Vanderbilt fell asleep on defense. Tennessee had a 2-point lead, and Julian Phillips gets the ball on a run out, could dunk it to go up 4, and instead he pulls it back. So there's your chance to go up. They don't do it. Santiago Vescovi gets sent to the free throw line for a 1-and-1 in a 2-point game, one of the best free throw shooters in the league. He misses the front end. There's your second chance to make it 4. You don't even make it 3. Only 2. So Vandy gets the rebound. They get in the front court, and they call timeout. And this is one thing that I have said about Jerry Stackhouse since he has been at Vanderbilt. They haven't had great players. Their results in terms of wins and losses have not been good. However, when you watch them offensively, they run really crisp and good sets. And he got them into a play on the last possession with 8 seconds left that was phenomenal. They inbound the ball to the top of the key to a guy they know they're not going to front guard. They get a handoff situation at the top of the key to a running guard who's got a lane to the basket in a 2-point game. He's either going to go to the rim and finish, or on the other side of the floor, backside, they had a guy standing in the corner. If his guy helps too strong at the rim, kick it to the corner and put it up. And like clockwork, Tennessee did not front the big. They tossed it into the top of the key for an uncontested entry pass. The guard was coming flying off the guy at the top of the key, handed it to him beautifully. He was able to turn the corner, get moving down the lane, Too much help, kicked it to the corner. Kid absolutely buries it from 3 to win the game. Tennessee, this stat's not exactly right, but just big picture, just take it for what it's worth. Tennessee has gone into Nashville as a top 10 team 6 times or so. They're 1-5, and the one win went to overtime. When the Vols go to Nashville in the top 10, they haven't won in regulation ever. And that rivalry, it doesn't burn as hot as Auburn, Alabama, doesn't burn as hot as Ole Miss, Mississippi State, doesn't burn as hot as Texas, Texas A&M, because there aren't that many Vanderbilt fans that care. Tennessee's big brother, they got the bigger, badder athletic program. But when Tennessee can stand up to Vanderbilt, or when Vanderbilt can stand up to Tennessee, whether it's in basketball or in baseball, or when Tennessee is really hitting the skids in football, which we've seen a little bit of lately, it's a big deal to Vanderbilt. And Tennessee likes to squash them, and they can. They're bigger, badder program. But Vandy gets up for that game. And anytime that Tennessee plays at Vanderbilt in any sport, it's going to be at least 50% orange in there because they got a lot of Tennessee fans in Nashville and a lot that can make a quick drive. But Vandy stood up to him, and that's a big win for Jerry Stackhouse's team. And for Tennessee, just another example of them not doing enough on offense. They only got to the foul line 3 times. Shooting 47% is not terrible, but not getting to the foul line and scoring 65 points against Vanderbilt is not very good. Vanderbilt's not a great defensive team. And that's the concern with Rick Barnes' teams when you get to the NCAA tournament. Second round Rick, they call him. Just, he's got talent, he's got guys, and they never seem to make it to the second weekend and make that next push. And this team you can definitely trust on defense. They held Vanderbilt to 66. Vanderbilt's a pretty good offensive team. But they've got to score. And sometimes they just don't score. Look at some of their losses this year. Against Kentucky, they scored 56 points. That's not going to get it. Colorado, 66 points. And they're coming off that Auburn game where they scored 46. They lost to Florida this year. They scored 54. I just don't know how you can trust them. Their last 3 games offensively, 54 on Florida, 46 on Auburn, 65 on Vandy. That's, yeah, your defense is good. Score. Go score. They don't do it enough, and they didn't close the game last night the way that they should have. So, tough one for Tennessee as they kind of scratch and claw and try to find their way to the 2 line, potentially even the 1 line, but that's going to be a debilitating loss for them against the Commodores. Got a couple things to remind you about. I'll do one here. It's the 104.5 ESPN Big Game Contest presented by Heineken Silver, where you can win $50,000 in cash if your name is drawn from the pot and you've correctly guessed the final score of the big game on Sunday. We'll also be selecting a guaranteed local winner. The 104.5 ESPN Big Game Contest presented by Heineken Silver. All the tastes, no bitter endings. Get your score guesses in now at 1045ESPN.com. We'll come back, play some Take It or Leave It. Hand the baton over to Mr. Moscona. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Football fans, FanDuel has the perfect way for everyone to get in on the Super Bowl 57 with a no-sweat same-game parlay. Means everyone gets a bonus bet back if your Super Bowl same-game parlay doesn't hit. Doesn't matter if you're new to FanDuel. If you already have an account, same-game parlays let you combine all your favorite bets for a chance at a bigger payday. So start building your own or just bet a popular same-game parlay already made for you in America's #1 sportsbook. You can bet on Jalen Hurts rushing yards, bet on a wide receiver to have receptions. Maybe Juju Smith-Schuster, who can make $1 million in this game, is the guy you want to go with. If you're new to FanDuel, sign up with the promo code 1045ESPN when you download the app. Either way, you're going to get bonus bets back if your no-sweat same-game parlay doesn't hit. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Must be 21 and present in Louisiana, 3+ legs, minimum $1 bet required. Refund issues non-withdrawable bonus bet, which expires 7 days after receipt. Max bonus $5 unless otherwise specified. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. If you or someone who has a gambling problem wants help, call 1-877-770-STOP.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of Walker.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCORoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job, HUDCO can help.
My patients come to me because they trust that I can get the job done at a high level. Ryan Terrio and Richard Tilley have the same level.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Thursday's AFR, presented by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana. We'll give you the latest on Derek Carr's visit to the Saints, and we'll recap LSU, Mississippi State, and hoops. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Really excited for tomorrow's show. If you missed this, we've been talking about it all week long, but we are going to be headed out to the Rouses at Jubin Crossing tomorrow. My show, Hunt Palmer Show, and then AFR are going to be broadcasting live from that Rouses from 1 p.m., obviously until 6. You can come meet former LSU Tiger and World Series champion Alex Bregman as he debuts his new product from his Breggy Bomb lineup exclusively at Rouses. Plus, you can make Rouses your one-stop shop for all your big game party needs. It all starts this Friday, live 1 p.m. from the Rouses in Denham Spring and on 1045ESPN.com. So Alex will join the show. We'll kick around some baseball stuff and get you ready for the Super Bowl. LSU, South Carolina in women's basketball, LSU A&M in men's basketball. Loaded show Friday. I want you to come out to Rouses in Jubin Crossing. All right, not Casey Gaines. It'll be Taylor Sharp giving us some Take It or Leave It.
Yeah, let's wrap it up with Take It or Leave It. Roger Goodell making news for all the right reasons.
Always.
He says that NFL officiating has never been better. Take it or leave it.
I want to say this. While no one's in the heat of the moment, nobody's cranky about a specific call going on right now. NFL officiating is really hard. There's 22 guys out there. They're huge. They're strong. They're fast. It's violent. They're breaking rules on every play. It's a very difficult job. Now, there are some calls that are a little bit easier to identify than others. So I don't want to jump down the throats of the officials in the NFL or anywhere else. I will do that when the basketball officials turn into very thin-skinned individuals and start giving out technicals like candy because they're cranky about what somebody said. I'll go nuts over that. Missing a call here or there, it may happen. However, I don't know if officiating is the best it's ever been. I think that could be debated. So I will leave that, Raj, with all due respect.
All right, sticking with the NFL. Matt Miller's latest NFL mock draft has the Indianapolis Colts trading up to number 1 to take a QB. The Chicago Bears should trade down. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. I think it's great if they trade down. They need to be sure they don't trade too far because there may be elite-level players that will help them. Yeah, the Bears have a lot of issues, and they may not think quarterback is one, and I'm fine if you think Justin Fields is better than Bryce Young. I have no issue with that. There's nobody in this quarterback class that I'm just 100% certain is a home run at quarterback. I think Justin Fields might be just fine. You got other issues. So trading down and getting more picks is fine. Just don't trade out of the zone where you could get Jalen Carter or Will Anderson or one of these studs. So I like them moving back to 2 or 3 if that's what you want to do. But moving back to like 11, I think is a bit of an issue.
The Phoenix Suns have officially traded for Kevin Durant. The Suns should be the favorite to win the title. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. I think you surround CP, who's still playing at a very, very high level, with Booker and KD on the outside, who are just ridiculous scoring options, with Ayton kind of manning the middle. I don't really know what else is on that roster. They've traded a lot, and they'll just kind of piece it together on the back end there. But that group out there, I think, is really, really good. The Celtics are phenomenal. We'll see what the Mavs can become with 2 of the better shot creators in the league, even though I don't care for Kyrie and adding him to your team at all. But yeah, I'll go with the Suns. I will take that.
Wake Forest guard Tyree Appleby has signed an NIL deal with Applebee's in Winston-Salem. 2 for $24 for the whole team. Take it or leave it.
Oh, man. Yeah, for the college guys, 2 for $24, I'm taking that all day. I'll take it. I remember the college days where you're trying to stretch that dollar as far as it'll possibly go. Not that I'm not trying to stretch the dollar as far as it'll go right now, but in college, you really may have some issues. And if you can get the boys hooked up with a couple of courses for some cheap, eating good in the neighborhood, I got no beef with that. So, yeah, I think it's a great NIL deal. I don't know that it's quite as good as DeColdis Crawford with the AC company, even though I think they could have incorporated Scott Frost into that as well with the Frost name. Wouldn't have lasted very long because they fired him in about 8 minutes after the season started.
They probably had a feeling.
But Appleby, great deal there for the for the NIL thing. I'm thinking about getting a catch-up sponsorship myself, maybe a trucking sponsorship if we can get the Hunt companies involved here. But yeah, for Tyree Appleby, I think that's a dandy thing. And by the way, that Wake Forest win that LSU has, not a terrible win. Wake's playing pretty good in the ACC. They clobbered Duke the other day. So yeah, that's good for the crew. Get some Applebee's. Get in the locker room. Help the folks out. All right, that'll do it here for a Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. This February, 104.5 ESPN and Citizens Bank and Trust are here to offer you a holiday rebate to the tune of $2,000 in cash. We'll also be selecting a local prize winner to receive $1,000 in cash. So sign up now at 1045ESPN.com. Today's show, fast moving, really enjoyed it. Started things out reacting to LSU and Mississippi State, which was not all that much fun to watch or talk about. 9 LSU football Tigers headed to the NFL Combine. I gave you who I thought may be able to benefit the most from a Combine invite. Joe Healy from D1 Baseball was awesome today in the first hour. He's part of this new SEC Extra package that D1 Baseball is offering. You can jump in and grab a subscription to that. You will get loaded with SEC baseball information. He gave us a lot there at 1:30, so appreciate Joe for jumping aboard. I reacted to that at the end of the hour as well with the information that LSU is missing a lot of really good arms in terms of the schedule this year. No Florida, no Vanderbilt. Now, Arkansas had a huge injury today, and their ace is going to be out for the year, so maybe a break for Jay Johnson's Tigers there. Open hour number 2, 5 people who have the most to gain from winning the Super Bowl on Sunday. Kind of rolled through that. $1 million on the plate for Juju Smith-Schuster if he plays half the offensive snaps and they win, so I put him first. David Grubb was great from Hard in the Paint podcast. Not thrilled with the Pels at the trade deadline. Not thrilled with the Saints entertaining Derek Carr either. Kind of some bleak times down there in New Orleans, but David was fantastic, and we gave you some SEC basketball thoughts at 2:30. So if you missed any of that, you can always catch it on demand, 104.5 ESPN's on demand tab, or Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube. We will be at the Jubin Crossing, Rouse's tomorrow. Alex Bregman will be there, 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock, and Matt Show will be after us as well. So come on out and see us at Rouse's tomorrow in Jubin Crossing. Jimmy Ott's Game Time tonight from 6 to 8. Matt Moscona is about to drive you home on After Further Review. Have a wonderful Thursday. We will hopefully see you, actually, tomorrow for the Hunt Palmer Show.